On today's episode of Jeff Kelderman's Garage, we're going to work. And right now you're probably like, why the hell would I want to go to work with this guy? Well, when you see the kick-ass stuff we build over here, I'll be surprised if you're not filling out an application before the end of this episode. Hey, Jeff Kelderman here. Welcome to my garage. For each episode, we're going to sit down, we're going to grab a hot rod, bike, a race car, and we're going to sit down and talk about how I took this car and how we turned it into what it is today. And the prize in my collection, the original Joe Dirt movie car. So when you got deer tape tattooed on your ribs and this car comes up for sale at Barrett-Jackson, you're going to figure out a way to make it work. And I did. Speaking of American muscle, we've even got Kyle Petty's high school car right here. Hell, even my wife's car's 550 horsepower. We're even going to get out of the garage a little bit. We got a couple special places this thing's going that you're really going to like. You're going to follow me to the racetrack and see how good or maybe not so good a driver I am. You're going to see a lot of Viper action. 6-speed, old school, no traction control. What could go wrong? Awesome thing about having your business on your same property, the commute. It's not very far. This is the only electric vehicle I got in my fleet, and I'm going to keep it that way. Welcome to Kelderman Manufacturing. First thing you're going to see when you walk through these doors is Bobo, the 12-year-old Husky. The official meter and greeter of Kelderman Manufacturing. As you can tell, he's had a long day of work because he's just sitting here napping. Next thing you're going to see is white-tailed deer. You're going to see big deer and a lot of them. And the other thing you're going to see is lots of pictures from magazines where you can kind of see the evolution of Kelderman trucks from when it started in 2003 with Big Red, clear up to some of the trucks we're building today. So what we're going to do here, I'm going to give you a quick shop tour. Well, it's probably not going to be too quick because there's a lot of stuff to cover here. When you walk out of the office, you go straight here. This is our machining room. We've got 2 Haas turning centers with live axis, and we've got 1 vertical machining center. Over here is where we make our threaded bars, our indexing rings. We got all kinds of parts that we make over here in the machining room. So you come over here, this is the original part of the shop. This concrete right here was laid in 1977 when my dad started this shop. From this wall to this wall, from this line down to basically where that yellow bridge crane is, that was the original start of Kelderman Manufacturing. So today in this part of the shop, we've got our 2 press brakes and we have our 2 blazer. So dang near every single part that comes through anymore is still made on the same concrete where this place started almost 50 years ago. Probably the thing I remember the most about this shop is when Dad built it is right here where this Cincinnati 90-ton press brake sits is where he built the baby elephant pulling truck. That is the Jeep that I've got hanging up in my garage. It was built right here when I was 6 years old. So imagine me at 6 years old running around here while my dad and his buddies after work would sit there and build that pulling Jeep. I mean, right here is where I remember them pulling in the 69 Roadrunner, pulling the hood off of it, and pulling that monster Hemi engine right here where I was sitting. And man, I tell you what, I got a picture of that old Roadrunner, but if I could get my hands on that someday, that would be a dream come true. So we machine all kinds of stuff. So this is machined out, so the bolt goes right there, and then there's actually a coil spring going on here. So this is the one of our only suspensions that we don't do air ride. This is actually going coil, and these are going on military vehicles actually that pull airplanes around Air Force bases. The most awesome thing about getting this tube laser is we pretty much eliminated 90% of our saw work. So these parts used to be cut on the saw. As you can imagine, it would take 60 to 90 seconds to make every cut. Well, now with this tube laser, we can cut through this in about 20 seconds. So 20 seconds later, bam, another one falls off. So it just speeds up the process tremendously. And then we go over here, we have, you know, you could cut these square tubes, and the angles are just exactly where they need to be. So when we're, you know, taking pieces, making swing arms on suspensions, every single piece is cut within a few thousandths. The other thing that's so cool about this is like this part here, and it has all these holes for 1/4-inch bolts. So this is a framework that's getting bolted together. So before, we would have to mark every one of these out and then go over to a drill press. And as you can imagine, it'd be impossible to get those all perfectly in a row. Whereas with this, you draw it upstairs in engineering, and bam, it hammers it out just perfect. Speaking of engineering, we need to go up there. So all this stuff on the floor, all this tubing on this rack is what this machine's gonna cut pieces. Some be long, some be short, some be on angles. Some's round, some square, some rectangle. Now we're gonna run up to engineering. This used to be the old offices. So, I mean, when I was a little kid, my dad's office is in here. We had one office person as an accountant, and then we had one draftsman over here, and that was how the whole thing operated. I mean, there's maybe 15, 20 people here. You know, as we grew, we built the new offices in about 2000, I'd say 15. You know, now we had dedicated marketing and accounting and receivables and payables, and, you know, all the girls have their own office. So this now used to be engineering, and now this is maintenance, and this is a break room. We're gonna go upstairs and see what the guys are working on. So we got 5 guys in engineering, and we got 1 guy that does our IT. So we'll come down here and see what they're working on. So we use SolidWorks to design all of our stuff. So this is just a simple L-shaped piece with a couple holes on it. Brian over here's got, what are you working on today?
I've got a couple of fixtures that I'm working on right now. This is the action portion of the fixture to lift the truing stand.
Okay, so what he's talking about is that new robot we got that I was telling you we're in the process of hooking up. We're getting the rotisserie for it so we can share fixtures with the current robot. So he's making some additional parts for this. So there we go, now we're talking. So you have to make the bases to hold the motor, you know, it's gonna spin everything. So there you go, that's exactly what the cell's gonna look like for the new robot. So here's what the station looks like. It's got the curtains installed, it's got the robot, it's got the trunnion, it's gonna be able to turn that. We're not too far about having that thing set up. Yep. So what we're looking at here is that big black F-250 we showed you that we're building for C-mount and install. So this is the actual kit that's going on it. So when new model years come out, we'll get through the SEMA program, we can actually get a hold of Dodge, Ford, and Chevy and get the frame files. So once we have the frame files, we can actually design all this stuff on the frame. So back when, you know, in 2003, when we had Big Red, I mean, you know, me and Mike Farrell would sit there and build each part individually, and then we bring it up to drafting, and then they'd draw it up, and they'd cut the parts. And back then it was just a plasma, because we didn't get a laser until 2008. So they'd bring it out, and then we would fit it on the truck that way. Now, this whole kit gets cut, bent, tacked up, and then we'll go out and do a test fit. Once we know everything is correct, which you always got to do a test fit, because, you know, sometimes we'll get these frame files and the holes will be off just a little bit. So it's up to us to, you know, make those modifications. So we'll build the kit, tack it up, put it on the truck, whole entire thing before we drive it, then take it off, weld it up, Sometimes we'll leave it raw if we're gonna do a color change and wanna do a little more test driving. Otherwise, we'll just powder coat it the color it's gonna be and put it on. Then we'll also try to do the instructions at the same time while we're putting this on, piece by piece. But as the entire front kit, from the front sway bar, steering stabilizer, which we actually decided to take out on this kit because we're doing rock ram steering on it now, hydraulic. Then you got your bag mounts, trailing arms, this is the big cradle, and 4-link rear suspension, shocks, clear back to the accumulator tank. That is a complete 10 to 12 Ford that is going to be on the SEMA truck this year. So every kit we do, we got to have a check sheet. I mean, you got to have bolt kits. Each kit could have 8, 10, 12 bolt kits, as I showed you down in install. And each one of those little baggies will have a part number with a sub-assembly on it. So that's what Marcus is working on right here. So here we have a Chevy truck. The same one we showed you, the white and black truck down there, the Chevy we're doing an install on. So he's going through. As we do installs, we try to keep good communication with engineering to find out, hey, you know what, this bolt's 1/2 inch short, 1/2 inch long. Hey, this needs to be a fine thread to fit into an existing bolt hole or whatever it has to be. But so he'll pull up the files, he'll be checking stuff, and then we'll be working on the check sheets, and then that'll also get incorporated to the actual master, set of instructions. Once all that's done, he'll upload that to the website so that we try to keep our instructions current as we continue to try to make them better. So in here's the little rooms, our 3D printing stations. I mean, we got 4 3D printers in here, and we got a couple over in install in that red barn. So we're constantly making new parts. We make our overheads to hold the controls in there. So we try to make this a dust-free environment. So just the little brackets we make for this would be for the sensor in the front bumper on the Fords. These are in the corner that go in the Chevys where the rear sensors are. We got all kinds of stuff. We got different panels, for our 3H control system. Some almost set up above where your sunglass case used to be by the rearview mirror. Other will be down here in your center console, different spots on the truck. So we made this room, and we just keep the door shut, trying to keep it as dust-free and stay out. So the heartbeat of the business is our Trump flat laser. So what it'll do is cut all of the flat pieces. It'll cut up to 1 inch thick. Most of the stuff we do is 1/4 inch to 3/8. So parts will get bent here, and then they'll go over to the press brake where it'll get bent, and then it'll head over here to weld. So this part of the shop here, my dad added on in 1983. So just this little area here, we got an old press brake where we do some stamping. We've got our air compressors are housed here, and we've got our old paint booth that was installed way back in 1985. This is also where we keep a lot of our steel inventory. So with the laser being right here, we will load up 6 or 8 pieces of steel. We'll set it here. The table handler will lift it up, drop it on the laser. After it's cut, it'll come back, pick it up, and drop it on the table where the guys will sort the parts. So now we're getting in the heart of the business. So all the welding that we do takes place in this section. This section of the shop, my dad added on in 1988. So that's when I was a sophomore in high school. I remember, I used to ride dirt bikes back here and took a skid loader, and I'd build little ramps for my BMX bike and my little Honda XR80, and me and my buddies would come back here, and it's hard to believe none of us didn't kill ourselves out here. We got 2 robots now. This one runs 12 hours a day, and then we just bought our second robot, and it's just in the process of being installed. So the higher volume stuff, we'll write the programs, make the fixtures, keep all the fixtures and tooling sets right here. They'll bolt the part on it, and the robot will go to work. So this is where we have our welding stations. There's 10 stations right through here. A couple of them, the guys are tacking for the robot. We got another station where guys primarily doing air tanks. Then the rest of the guys are going to be doing lift kits and bumpers. So depending on the quantity of what we sell here is how many we run at a time. So, we may only run 2 or 3 in a batch, or we might run 80 or 90 of something in a batch. It just depends on the volume. So here we have some Chevy 5500s. We'll make those 10 at a time. They'll tack them up in a run, and then it'll get dispersed through the shop depending on who's going to weld it up. One of the main reasons we bought the tube lasers, we wanted to get to the point where we're building our own air tanks. Anytime you can bring something in-house, you don't have to worry about how long it's going to take. You can control the quality. And as you can see, when we weld these up on the rotisserie, It's just like you would expect out of a robot. It's just absolutely perfect. One thing we take pride in is the welding that we put out of the shop is fantastic. It's not easy to get a job here as a welder. We have to get, you know, the best we can find around here. Luckily, there's a big manufacturing supply here in Iowa. You got Vermeer up the road, you got Kinsey, you got John Deere, you got some other weld shops. So we'll try to, you know, hone in and get a handful of guys that really know what they're doing. So this is the area where we build our bumpers. Our bumpers are a three-piece design that allows you to have different colors, whether you want to powder coat the center or color match the center and do different colors of wings. As you can see, this piece has already hit the grinding, and these wings here will be ground down so that they're perfectly smooth. The bumpers, they'll have a really cool, unique look and very popular product for us. So coming over to this part of the shop, this was built in 1993. It's easy for me to remember because that's when the floods of '93 happened in Iowa, where we had rain like 40 straight days. So they didn't get this building done until almost winter. It was you know, set back that much from all the rain. But this building here is 200 by 200, so this section is 40,000 square feet. In this building is where we have shipping. We got half of our powder coat line starts in this side. We also have a lot of inventory. So when parts will get bent, they will go over here and put on the shelf with ticket numbers on it. And then as the welders see what their jobs are for the day, they'll come pull the order by the ticket and then bring it back here, tack it. Then it'll go to the, once it's tacked, it'll go in the staging area to where the welders will start pulling. So right here is where we'll have our bumper and grill inventory. So you'll see there's a bunch of different parts here. And just like all the other parts on the shelf, you'll have a ticket with the order number, or if it's inventory, it'll just say INV. This little area here is where we do our bolt kitting. So what we'll do is we'll have all our bolts lists from engineers, and then as we sell items, you know, that orders will be come over to this computer, they'll pull it up, and then they'll do the bolt kits. You know, it's like when we're doing big high volume orders, you know, guys might sit here and do 20 or 30 bolts at a time. Otherwise, it might just be one or two, you know, doing a 10 to 12 Ford one day and doing a 5 to 6 Dodge the next. So this is our powder coating area. We put this monorail system in back in it would be about 19/20, right before COVID. We'd gotten to the point where our log jam was powder coating. We were just using these batch ovens, sandblasting in a large walk-in cabinet, and it just took way too long. We were never going to be able to grow into a high volume company unless we made some major changes. So back in the day, all these frameworks here would be painted down at the other end in the old school paint booth, wet paint booth, and the quality just wasn't up, and you know, in salty environments, the paint wouldn't hold up long enough. So I bought this powder coating line out of Flex Steel in Dubuque, and it was a totally different configuration, but we sat down in engineering, and you could see everything that is black, you know, steel, yellow post, but made in steel. That was all designed by us. We laid the whole system out, figured out how long the chain was going to be. We put our oven in. So what happens is we'll hang the parts on here, and it'll go through a Pangborn media blaster. Then after the Pangborn media blaster gets washed, and after it gets washed, it goes into a dry off oven, and then it'll make the corner. So after that, it goes into 2 Wagner powder coating booths. One we use for colors, one is primer, and it's really cool. We're even set up on automatic guns, so when these high volume shuttle bus things go through, we'll just lay the frameworks on, and they'll just run for hours. Kind of our thinking is when we put the powder coat line in, having it this close to shipping, is when they get done doing the kits, they'll put them on racks to let them cool off, and then the next day shipping will come over and take the kits, and they'll put them on these tables. And all these tables we have rollers on them and shelves underneath. So these will be the parts after they come out of powder coat. Textured black is our standard everyday color that we do the most. It's real durable, holds up to rust prevention. Now we will do colors and stuff when we do our high-end trucks, but for the most part, you know, probably 85–90% of the stuff we do is going to be this textured black. So once shipping gets the components that are powder coated on their table, the next step's going to be is they're going to go through the order. They're going to get their check sheet that's going to show everything that needs to go with this. You know, for example, bolts, fittings, U-bolts, you got spacers, and we try to kit all this stuff up the best we can, because with all these little parts, it's easy to get lost. So we'll put down what the spacers are, we'll put the part number on it, and then that's where they'll start to do little assembly, you know, where we'll put the badges on our radius arms. Like here, this kit's already got the shocks on it. And then, you know, if it's getting brake lines, you know, like this kit's a lift kit, so it's getting brake lines. He's got the shocks under here. We've got our airbags. You know, we got our cast knuckles. You know, these are the bars that we machine over in the machining center I showed you earlier. So this is pretty much a complete kit that's going to be put in a box and hitting the road. Hopefully, this will probably be tomorrow or the next day. So this is the area where we keep shocks with pitman arms, some of the other purchase goods, brake lines, sway bars. But what's cool is you can see all these Raptor shocks. So we work with Raptor Shock Company up in Minnesota. Jake's the shock guru. He'll come down here every 6 months to a year, depending on when new trucks come out. He'll hook up a bunch of sensors. We'll go out and ride on rough roads. He'll read the graphs, pull the shocks apart, put in different discs, bigger holes, smaller holes, upside down, work his magic and his voodoo. And I tell you what, at the end of the day, we've got one awesome riding shock. This is what the Kelderman Raptor shock looks like. It's black. It's got a heavy-duty coating on it, so it'll last a long time in the snow and salty surfaces. But you know, the magic is in here, the valving, to be able to make it ride. It'll get the optimum ride with the airbag, because airbags have different spring rates than leaf springs and coil springs. So we've got these things dialed in, and super stoked to have, you know, what we think is the best looking shock on the market. So here we've got a kit that's all boxed up. We got all the little parts in different boxes. We got our shocks. We got the machined indexing ring. This is a new Ford 10 to 12 kit. We use the foam packaging to help keep stuff from bouncing around and getting scratched up. See, we got a pair of our Kelderman air tanks in here. We've got brake lines, you know, all the stuff you're gonna need to put this truck together. So back here is where we have UPS. You know, this is your average day of parts going out. So UPS comes at this back door, we'll set the pallet outside, and pretty much every day you got parts like this going out. Over here is a bunch of parts that are probably waiting on, I would guess, payment, or sometimes we'll build ahead a little bit on our monthly orders that we continuously do. And then back here, got a little bit of inventory. You got some Firestone airbags. Then you got some inventory of products over here on the shelf that we sell a lot of: steering stabilizers, Dodge coil replacements. So they're already pre-packaged, so when they're ordered, they can grab it and throw it on UPS. Airbags. We go through thousands and thousands of airbags a year. So we use Continental. We also use Firestone. So we keep a pretty good inventory. This is just our most common bags. Well, we try to order ahead and have stuff so if there's any types of shortages, we're not stuck. Because guess what? You can't sell air ride suspensions if you don't have airbags. So this area is powder coat pre-stage. So we'll have different kits. They've been checked off. What they're going to do is kind of put them in order, and then the guys at powder coat will just come and pick them up, hang them on the line, and a couple hours later, they'll come out whatever color they're supposed to be, which is usually black. So this is a burn-off oven. So what we do is, you know, every day or two, we'll take our hooks that go through powder coat and we'll burn them off. So, but we'll also have kits. So say you got a bad powder coat job, or, you know, didn't get dry, maybe a little water in it. It doesn't happen that often, but it does once in a while. Or sometimes we'll powder coat it and then find out later guy changed the color, you know, a couple days and didn't get relayed down. So this is where you can burn off all this metal, and then it'll come off, you know, without any powder coat on it. So then you just hang it back on the line. It'll get media blasted, it'll get washed, it'll get dried, and then it'll get another coat. So, you know, it's not a real exciting product, but burn off oven is real important. The other important thing about it is when we keep these hooks burnt, that gives you a good contact. One of the problems is if you don't have a burn off oven with this powder coat system, you get too much paint built up on the hooks. You don't get a good ground, you don't get a good paint job. Powder coating 101. So coming on this side of the wall, this is the newest part of the shop. This section is 200 wide by 250 feet long. So this here, 50,000 square feet. We built this back, I think around 2010 or 2011. So what we do in here is a couple different things. This walled off section is the powder coating room. It gets really hot in there because there's 2 ovens, so we had to block that off. We've got our air ride controls that are built in this area. So I mean, we do a couple thousand controls a year. So whether it's a mechanical system, electronic system, shuttle bus stuff, that's all built right here. So air ride control systems are here. You know, we build all our brackets, you know. Those they'll make probably 100, 150 at a time because that's a high volume that we use. You come over here, you know, this is just the other inventory boxes. You got dual compressor kits here. So dang near every single kit we build for air ride is going to have some type of controls that goes with it. Probably 99%. The only ones that wouldn't is if the guy's got his own controls that maybe he put together himself. So you come over here, this is where we paint our bumpers. Ron is our painter and he is as good as you get. I mean, the job he lays down on these bumpers is fantastic. I mean, you'll get these bumpers on the truck and it makes the Ford factory paint job look pretty crappy. But we're basically putting down a high-end exotic car paint job on our bumpers because that's what we do, high-end stuff. So what we'll do is we'll get our bumpers and we'll run them through the powder coat system with a layer of primer. And what that does, that gets on the inside so he doesn't have to worry about painting the inside. So he'll do some sanding, put down a layer of primer, sand that out, do a top color coat. We'll bake it, come out, let it set a couple days, and then he'll buff it out and it'll just be like a piece of glass. So this section of the shop is where we do our tires. So we can mount and balance. We can also true up tires. And of course, you can't go over anywhere on my property without finding racing tires. So right here, this is our tire truing machine. So if we get a tire that's got a little bit of a hop to it, you know, when you're doing like 37-inch tires on a 450, like I'm going to show you here on this alignment rack, every once in a while you'll get some tires that might be a little bit out of true. And what this machine will do, it's got a cutting wheel on it, and we'll put it up to the alignment or the balancing machine, and we'll just take off the top edge of it. And what that does, it makes the wheel perfectly round. And when you have 6 tires, wheels that are trued, that are perfectly round, it's amazing, man. It's like riding in a new Cadillac. So this is where we build our trucks. In the installation area here, we have 6 racks. We have 1 pit. I mean, we literally have 8 to 10 trucks in here all the time, and they'll come from all parts of the country. You can even order a brand new Ford or Dodge and give them a 5-digit code, and your truck will get dropped off right here in Oskaloosa, Iowa. So we got all kinds of different sizes of trucks here right now. So for example, this is our own truck actually. This is a new Ford 2024 Platinum. It's getting our 10 to 12, which is a new design. We're doing a new cradle. We're going to be unveiling this thing at SEMA exactly 4 weeks from today. So we're real excited to get this put together. You know, we do some, you know, 750 trucks right here. We do a front and a rear on that. You know, the truck on the pit over there is a 5500 Ram. Between 5500 Rams and 5500 Chevys, there's one pretty much every single week, if not 2 here. There's another 750, so we're working with a dealership that's sending us a bunch of these. I think we're doing like 50 of them. So we're doing basically 1 a week. This is Corey Clem, man. This is the guy that bought my G1, the first episode of Jeff Kelderman's Garage. So that guy has a bunch of Kelderman trucks. I think this will be number 6. So Corey gets a Christmas card from us every year. So as you can tell from the big ass sign on the wall, we do a lot of horn blasters. So we make this little cradle, so when we do the air ride suspension, our control system fits right where the spare tire was. So we made this bracket that with 4 bolts, we can just fasten it, fits right around our air ride controls. And I tell you what, you get their attention with this thing, no doubt. So this here is a 2024 Chevy 3500. We've got a killer 4-link for that. We got this truck, right there's another, I think that's a 23 Chevy. So dualies, man, we got dualies in here all the time. So when the truck comes in here, first thing we'll do, we'll put it on the rack, we'll remove the bed, having access to the frame just allows us to do a much cleaner and more efficient install. So once we get a truck built, for example, this truck's got our 3-inch suspension on it. What we'll do is we'll try to put 50 to 100 miles on the stock tires. We'll get the steering wheel straight, make sure that there's no driveline vibration, make sure the handle's correctly. Then after we got a little shakedown miles, then we'll go ahead and put on the big wheels and tires. All right, I'm sure you've been seeing the barn in the background, wanting to know what the story that is. Well, when we built this, I knew we were going to have to make some offices. So we built the barn because it's stereotypical Iowa, baby. And we got offices all upstairs, and then we put the restrooms down below. So instead of just having something, normal, we try to make this a destination because people are coming and checking. They want to come. They want to make this an experience. I mean, we get trucks from all 50 states, man. We get, including Alaska. Nothing from Hawaii, but everything else. So really, 49 states. Correction. So, when people come here, I want them to give them an Iowa feel. That's why we have the deer in the office. That's why we have a barn. We want to have some. We want to have some personality. Some stuff for the people to remember. Besides the kick-ass truck. And on the side of the barn, we got the old sign that was out in front of the house from, I'd say, mid-'80s through about 2000. I think we put the new one in. So it's really cool. We kept that. I'm glad we didn't throw that away. So we come into my dad's office. As you can see, he's old school. He got stuff here from pictures of a motorhome he built, clear back in 1995, sitting right on his desk. It's probably been there for 15 years. But anyway, this is kind of the wall of fame in here. We talked about the Poland truck. That I have the Jeep body in my garage, couple of pictures. This is his old 64 Plymouth. This was actually a lightweight, so all you Mopar guys know what a lightweight is. The guy who bought it off Ostrich was a big famous race car driver up in Nevada, and they actually kept the Hemi and then sold it to Dad. He put a 383 motor in it and was extremely successful racing down here in Eddyville, Iowa, and you can see all kinds of trophies here. Come over here, Dad was into the lime spreading business in the 70s and 80s and 90s. He'd spread lime all over about a 3-4 county-wide area. And then, got a couple pictures of some of his hot rods. And, so I grew up, working on this old 48 Anglia. That picture's probably 1983, so I'd have been about 12 years old. But, I remember, when we tore this apart, changed the front end. I remember the motor, the actual blower was in the basement of the house, but when it was not finished. So it brings back a lot of memories. So, my hot rod, and motorcycle stuff came directly from, 6 years old, hearing that 426 Hemi fire up almost on a daily basis with these open, custom made headers. I mean, it's still entrenched in my mind. I get goosebumps talking about it because this thing kicked everybody's ass. It was built around the rule book. You can see all the weights up here. He built his own frame. He had a gear reduction between the transmission and transfer case so he could start second gear in the transmission, low in his gear reduction. As soon as that Hemi hit 6,000 RPM, he could bump that gear reduction into straight, bumped it up like 10%. RPMs would drop about 1,000 RPMs, hit 6 again, hit drive, and bam, he was gone. He won like 75% of the events he ever participated in. So a lot of that hot rodding and myself being interested in hot rods and building trucks, and it's just straight DNA I got from my dad. So you come back to this corner of the office. This has got a lot of the agricultural history. It's got my dad's self-propelled baler. You got a couple more lime spreaders, an old article in the Des Moines Register. That's like 1977. And then you come on this wall. This is the rubber tracks. Dad had a lot of patents on the rubber track systems. He ended up selling the patents to some other companies that ended up making OEM tracks for John Deere and New Holland. So these were licensed under Dad's patents. You got this kind of collage of pictures here, an old tag axle my dad made, some of the original corn reels that we still make today. These pictures are from the early 80s. And then there's a section there in the 2000s where Dad was building a lot of fold kits, custom toolbars on corn planters. So at the time of the filming, this is about a week after the hurricane hit the North Carolinas. So a bunch of us got together with our guys in the shop, and we're kind of putting together some clothes, some supplies. We're going to get ready to ship that stuff down to North Carolina here in a couple days. So you come through here, this is the foyer going out to the shop from the main office, but as you can see, we're in whitetail heaven. Being right here in the middle of Iowa, myself, my brother, my dad, my son, we all love deer hunting. So all these deer here have been shot on property that my father owns and now our family. We get up here, we got black buck, we got axis deer. Those are shot down in Texas. And speaking of Gary, the man that started this place, right here, the original Gary Kelderman. You got any words of wisdom?
Results of, on average, 100 hours a week.
There you go. You want a place like this, you got to put in 100 hours a week. come upstairs. We got some bears we shot up in Canada. Not real monsters, but they still make pretty rugs. And as you'll come up here, you're going to have more pictures of trucks. So when we started the business and got into the truck stuff, 03, magazines were the key. Man, if you got covers of magazines, that's how you built the business. So we strive to get as many covers as we can. And boy, we got a lot of them. And you also see some athletes, you know, Ethier sent his truck here, West Helm sent his truck here. There's a lot of professional athletes that have Kelderman systems on their truck. So it'd be fun to be sitting there watching Monday Night Football and see a couple guys and be like, yeah, he's got Kelderman truck and so's he. So we're upstairs in my office. You know, I've got a few bear up here that we've shot up in Canada, and then you know, a lot of the mementos or keepsakes. I mean, it was, you know, obviously an honor to have Richard Petty signing autographs in our booth at SEMA in 2018. And the rest of this stuff's just normal hot rod guys. You know, I got this sign here, 135, and as a business owner, you know, you got to have a 1-year plan, a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan. So I have this right here against the window. So every time I look out the window, I see that 135. Tries to take all your busy work out of the day and just kind of take a step back and make sure you're staying focused on where you need to be and make sure we're hitting our marks. Yeah, Marshall guy, love to play electric guitar. I'm not very good, but you know, at least I know what I'm playing. I don't think anybody else does. But so we got a Marshall amp, got some motorcycle stuff here, a few trophies from racing. Of course, we always got to have our J. Dirte, our Iowa State license plate off the hot rods. So we got our cover from Muscle Car Power, and we had the Superbird on the cover of that. So also in the 90s, that was making hay rakes. We were making those rubber track systems. Ended up kind of selling out those 2 patents. And, you know, as I went to college from 90 to 95 at Iowa State University, I got a degree in marketing and business management. So what happened is I came back and, you know, we were still doing more ag than automotive. And it only took me a few years to realize, you know, I'd probably rather go to the SEMA show with some, you know, really cool trucks than you know, spend time out in the field, R&D and hay rakes and stuff like that. I just didn't like it. And you know, as the old saying goes, if you don't like your job, you're not gonna have very, you know, not much enjoyment in what you're doing. So the passion was the automotive side. So after, you know, out here full time for about 8 years, and we started steering into the you know, the aftermarket lift kits. So crazy story that the lift kits were actually by Michael Clausen from Bully Dog. He calls me in about 02 and he's like, Jeff, you know, I've had your air rides on my Duramax and they are awesome. I love them, but you've got to figure out how to make an air ride suspension lift kit. And you figure it out, I guarantee you it'll be a great business for you, and I'll do anything I can do to help you move this along. So 2003, bought Big Red, and you know, it's been on cover about 5 magazines, but Big Red's what started it all. You know, we started with a 3-inch lift, went to a 6-inch lift, and then went to a 10-inch lift. You know, and after that, you know, we built the Screaming Diesel, and I keep this little card here right on my desk just because, you know, what our goal here is we wanted to go to SEMA, and not only we were, you know, have this awesome truck, but my dad had this hydraulic bed lift on his truck, so we modified it to fit so this would drop the motorcycle. So I still remember how nervous I was. This truck was $45,000 and the motorcycle was $25,000. So I was in 2004 investing $70,000 into a truck and motorcycle to be our promotional item. And it's crazy, man. A Harley truck like that now is, you know, over $100,000. As we build these trucks, I'll do a walk around. I want to describe them to people. And there's not a guy that walks through the door when he's bringing his truck to get it built that doesn't say, Jeff, I have sat and watched all of your videos. I feel real comfortable with what you guys are doing. You guys know what you're doing. That's why I'm bringing my truck to you, and I can't wait to get it back. It hasn't always been an awesome story here. You know, back in 1992, 93, I remember getting up to go to school and looking out, and all I saw out here was just smoke. And I look out a little closer, and the shop's basically gone. It's just smoke. My dad had fired a guy, and he came back. And, you know, heard through the grapevine him bragging how he torched Kelderman's shop. And that was that main section where I showed earlier in the video where my dad's built a Jeep, and just a little section, but still just to see my dad have to start from scratch and rebuild. I mean, Wasn't a big shot, but back then, I mean, 1992, or I'm sorry, 82, 83, I mean, interest rates are 15, 20%. So to have to rebuild and borrow all that money again, it was a real credit to, the fortitude he had to keep this thing going. Because a lot of guys could have just said, screw it, I'm going to take the insurance company and just buy some farmland and farm. But no, he wanted to keep his vision going. The other thing that really sucks about this is the office. I mean, it had hundreds of trophies in it, clear back from Dad's drag racing days, from the enduro days, and of course, wiping everybody's ass in the truck pulling world. Had all those trophies, all the magazine articles. I mean, it was kind of like when you walked through this office, it was all decorated with articles on all the accomplishments on that baby elephant, and then later on, it had a truck cab on it called the Outlaw. And I mean, I don't even have a single picture of that truck. All I have is my memory. So it sucks that it happened. I mean, obviously, we lost so much memorabilia through that. But, the good news is it didn't stop us. It just made us stronger. So yeah, you got Kelderman Trucks that makes all the cool stuff. And that's all the stuff you see on Instagram. But really, the cash cow of this place is three things. One is we still do some ag stuff, which is our combine corn reel. We only make it in the fall during harvest when some wind damages corn. And some years we don't sell any, some years we sell hundreds. So we still have Dad's old corn reel that he invented in 1977. Second thing we do sprinters. We do hundreds and probably 500-600 sprinters a year. Gretsch Motors is our biggest customer. Been working with them for a long time. I mean, that's standard equipment on there. And the third is our E-Series shuttle bus kits. We make shuttle bus air rides that takes the extremely rough ride out of those, smooths it right out. Those are, I mean, heck, I think we're going to do 900 to 1,000 this year. So it's a record year on that. And that's what, those E's are what we showed you on the robots, what they're cranking out. So if you're thinking about getting a truck sent here, have us build, feel free to stop by, give us a call, watch our videos. I mean, what you see in the videos is what you're going to get. You're going to get a quality service. You're going to get guys that are willing to help you if you ever have any issues. I mean, we strive to build, first-class vehicles. I mean, these are expensive trucks, expensive kits. I mean, it takes a lot of work to strive to be the best in the business. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Jeff Kelderman's Garage. What we're trying to do here is give you a comfort factor so that you can, see what we got, get an idea of what we have going on here at the operations. You can see, I mean, we start building our kits with the files from Ford. We have laser cut tube and flat. We have precision benders. We have robotic welders. What we're trying to do here is provide you with the best product that we possibly can. It's something you're gonna be proud of, running the Kelderman name on your truck. Hit the like button, subscribe button, tell your friends, tell your enemies, anybody who wants to hang out with the Kelderman crew. You can find us at Kelderman Trucks on Instagram. I'm at jdierte on Instagram. And on YouTube, we're Kelderman Manufacturing. Same thing on Facebook. Okay, we can win 5 games, so there you go. 5-0, baby. Go Cyclones.